So when they came back, brought a new PC with her. So her old PC was available. And so I quickly took ownership.
Oh, okay.
So
Are you the
anytime,
firstborn? Are you the firstborn?
no, middle.
Yeah. We go take ownership.
But even though C++ was my favorite language, and I always recommend that people start with it. I think now I usually ask, what do you want to do, right? So it depends on what you are trying to build, right? Then there will be different languages that will be better for you to start, because it will make it easier for you to transition into what you're going to do than you start with the language that you're not going to do.
Hello guys, welcome back to the space. Today we have another interesting person in the space, and I'll be interviewing him on his tech journey. So let's get to know him, and then he'll take us through his journey. All right, so Severin, you're welcome to the space.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we would like to know you, before tech. Give us some small rundown about you. Then we get into the tech stuff. Yeah.
Rundown.
Rundown.
My name is Severin Asutani. It has always been tech stuff, engineering, and everything. That has always been my passion. So there's no before.
There's no before. Yeah, sure.
Current.
So like they give birth to you now, like.
Okay. There was a time like when I was a little kid. I think from the stories that I'm hearing, I say my passion at that time was a military man. So
okay, but then it wasn't anything that.
No.
It was just
ever since me I can remember it has been engineering stuff. Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Let's just go straight to it. Tech. How did you get to know about it? And okay, let's just talk about how you got to know about tech. Yeah.
So I think in general I was quite lucky because when we were kids around we were young, probably class 1, let's say class 2, class 4. We were lucky that our school was able to get a PC.
Okay.
Right. So we started the interest was the kind of built early on. The school was able to get a PC. I think my parents also saw the interest, so they got us one in the house.
What interest? What did they see that they knew that that was your interest?
Oh, I don't think they were on it. They were on the tech journey in the beginning, but I was just going to say I think they saw that the PC the future was heading towards computers, so they got us one quite early so that we could accumulate ourselves with it, right? So we could get used to using the PCs. So we were able to get PC quite early, and I think
at what age?
Not to say around class 4, class 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we were able to get one early. But most of the things we were using to do was playing games. Yeah.
Is that where you're gaming? Okay, we'll get to that level.
Gaming is before that, Mario, then this is Super Mario, Nintendo, all those things. So the game was before that, long before that one.
Oh,
yeah. Then those rectangles that you be the handheld ones. You remember those ones that you be playing the snake and all those things. So the game in there was.
It was there. Okay, cool. So. Your parents had they saw that your interest was in tech, and so then I'm assuming that if in JHS you had interest, then probably in the university you did computer related.
I did IT in school.
IT.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. No computer science.
No computer science.
Okay. I also interviewed Benson, and he had the option to choose either computer science or IT, and he chose IT. How? Why?
Okay. So I didn't quite have the option. So I think the journey was after school. I had to sit home for a year. There was some friction between what I was going to do in school.
Wait. It's like you and Benson had the same story. Yeah, he also had to stay 1 year, but his wasn't to choose between computer science and IT, but the entire family was in the medicine field. And
I see. Because, I think in general, my family in general, I think is split between teaching and then medical field, right?
Okay.
So have almost like I would say like 80 to 90% of the family is either in teaching or this is medical field, right?
Okay. Okay.
So I think when I had finished school, I think the goal, even though I had the interest in the IT, I think it was building up. It was team. The goal was always still to have me go and do medicine. So that's why the question was.
And so your family wasn't too happy about it?
They would have preferred, you see, usually I think the perspective of the parents or in general is always like the security, right?
Okay.
That when you come out, you will not be stressing in life. You understand?
And I feel like going into the medicine field is quite okay then. I don't blame them because by
the highest job security in the country is medicine. That's the highest job security that you ever get, right? Because there's always going to be need for you. So you always have job.
Are you sure?
You always have job.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very rare that you find that somebody has gone to school and done medicine and is out and is not practicing in any capacity. Right. Maybe the only reason is that maybe the person allowed this medical license to expire or the something pie where they revoke their license. Where even that one too is very rare case. So the medicine they always get job, right? Plus most of the families already in the field, so the connections already did. So she's not going there like that.
I see. It's like you guys had the same stats. I mean, same experience. Yeah. So you did IT, so definitely it would be more of you getting introduced to code and understanding what happens behind the code and all that stuff. Was that like your first experience in seeing code stuff, or even before you go into the university?
Long before I go into university.
I think how did you get introduced to it?
I don't remember the initial story, but I think largely the thing is, so when we got our first PC, right? That was a Pentium 2. The cathode, they also put desktops. So our job was to play games, and then at the other time it's not easy to get games. So we're hunting down games. Once in a while we install virus. We have to reformat the machine. So all those initial processes. One of my cousins had a friend.
Okay.
Right, and then he was kind of more into the tech stuff than the rest of us, or like he had more experience with stuff like that. So sometimes you have to come to the house and then reformat the machine or make some fixes for us.
Okay.
Right. So outside of watching him, so I think that's where probably the passion leaned more into coding and all those things, right? Rather than any other aspect of engineering.
Okay. But how did you know? You see, you had a clear mind. You were just using your desktop, playing games and nothing, and coding, like writing softwares, and then your cousin too just comes, probably insert a pen drive to restart or refresh or reinstall Windows on you. So how did you know that like there is something called coding and like you need to learn something called languages? And then
I think it all kind of stems back to the gaming, right? So obviously the passion is, I think almost everybody that plays video games like seriously or like is bordering on addiction, they have at one point or another thought about making their own games. So I think that's where it kind of jumped. So that's my first introduction. I don't clearly remember the first point where I was like, this is it.
Okay, cool. So if you got into that before even before getting into the university, then you thought of like using the coding for something. So like, what did you do with coding? It could be during the stay in the university.
So let me see. So I think first time, so in high school was when I actually kind of took the coding a bit serious. I think that was my second year of high school, right? Around the ending there. We had some of our old students come around sometime, and then one of them was trying to set up a foundation that will help young students, like brainstorm, figure out solutions, and then like follow through with those solutions to build like real world to make a real world tangible difference, right?
Okay.
So I think there were two of them. One of them was actually making a game.
One of them was
making a game.
Okay.
And they were both developers.
Okay.
Right. So I think one of them was still in school, but they were both sort of developers.
Okay.
We were even three. One of my friends, big brother too, was part of them. But he wasn't able to come around. I think he came only the first time. That's when we met all of them. So I think from those guys speaking, that's when I took it a bit more serious.
Okay.
And then he was also teaching us a bit of the coding too on the side. He was teaching us some this stuff. I forgot the name. It was some design coding thing. It was supposed to be a coding language for artists.
Okay.
Right. So the focus was on generating objects, so like rectangles, drawing, stuff like that.
So the right code to do those stuff.
Yes, to do all those things. Yeah, so that's where it kind of started from. Right. I think I'm not remembering that period clearly. I think even before that, I was kind of also learning C++. Right before that stuff. So that one too was interesting. I was at that time I was living primarily in Yendi.
Okay.
Right. So the internet was all there like that. So you see that on vacations, I have to carry my small phone. That I used my small savings to buy. I used to carry the small phone.
Your small savings.
Oh, yeah. In school they used to call me that I was prepared because I would not buy anything from canteen. I was saving all the money.
I see.
Yeah, it will either go into hard disks or I'll use it.
Also, those terrible save money to buy just tech stuff, gadgets.
Oh, no, I wasn't
as a game idea.
In general, I was just like largely saving. Right? I think the idea was to get a better PC for myself. Right? I didn't want to
play game with.
But then, no way. Not only the game, but obviously the coding too.
Okay.
So I didn't want to put the responsibility on my parents. Right? So I wanted to be able to say that I have been able to do part of the money, add up and let me. So I was saving small savings. So I got it. So then I think on the holidays when I go back home to Yendi, I'll now get up. I'll pick my small PC. At that time, I think my mother went to school, and then when she came back, they gave them a new PC at this school. She went to Denmark to do some courses. Okay. So when they came back, she brought a new PC with her. So her old PC, was available. And so I quickly took ownership.
Oh, okay.
So
are you the firstborn? Are you the firstborn?
No,
middle.
Yeah.
Where you go take ownership?
I mean, the firstborn, then he left house.
Oh, okay.
So let me now be in charge at that point.
Okay, cool. So, at what point did you ever take an internship? Like,
I did two.
Okay.
I did two.
How was the experience like?
Was interesting. I think the first one I did, that was like first year? Yeah, that was in my first year of university. Right, so we finished. There was like the long holiday, 2-3 months. I was like, well, I knew that we were going to do this thing in the third year compulsory. But then I was seeing that on a lot of channels where like the internship distance, it helps a lot and it builds character and skills. So I was like, let me just do some. So I was like, I hit my cousin up. I was like, I want to do internship. She should hook me up. I said, so she made me go to Rich Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I did my first internship. I did my first day at Rich.
As what?
IT, and also the IT manager team. So I was there as an intern.
How was it?
Doing small.
I see.
Yeah, I think the interesting part of that internship was that when we went, I think that was when they were building the new Rich facility, So I went, I think after the first phase, we had installed everything. I think they were building and then they were making the ID cards for the guys. So we're working on those things too. But then there was no coding there, just validating data, and then sharing ID cards. I think there was one guy who was actually building some internal tools for them, right? But then largely there's no, and then I don't get the skills to even partake in this. So I was trying to get on his this thing out. So I checked and I had to learn. That's when I actually picked up what they call it, JavaScript and PHP.
Okay, but before that time, you only had C++.
Only C++.
Only C++. And that's what you also learned in school? Like,
I think that was the first language we did.
Okay. So during that internship, on the scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in terms of the knowledge you have now and then?
Oh, I think it would have been like 1 grade.
1.
Yeah,
I see. Okay, cool. So let's talk about after university.
The second internship too was also that was the compulsory one, right? But the one I actually did with the tech firm.
Okay.
So that one there was a lot of coding involved. They were teaching us how to build the applications and stuff like that. The whole process, the brainstorming. Yeah, so they're priming us to be software engineers.
Okay.
So and how was very good. How was a lot of learning there. So there was a lot of improvements.
Okay. How's the experience between you and the other teams?
Other teams
in the second internship.
So that one was a startup, so there wasn't really that many teams. So we're all directly under the supervision of the CTO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Crazy
okay.
guy.
Cool. Let's talk about after university. I know you did national service. Then you are, of course, you are not at your national service place, so you had other experiences. Let's talk about national service. We are going to talk about two things. So the national service and one of the other experience you had that really impacts your. Of course, you just came out from school, so you didn't know that much, and then you didn't have some understanding, and which of these companies like spiked that understanding when it comes to software, the entire software, not really coding, but understanding some certain concepts in engineering?
I would say the internship now, because after the school, most of the stuff I was doing was kind of like freelance, right? So we're doing some freelance work.
So you never worked in a firm that they were like giving more than 10 developers and some.
So after school, national service. Funny enough, I did my national service at the hospital again.
It's like a medicine thing. So you are supposed to be part of medicine.
You see, I be the family connections the inside there, so it was easier.
Family connections.
So I was trying to get somewhere that was not stressful.
Okay.
Right? Because I wanted to use the national service to focus on building up skill and then working on freelance stuff. Right.
Okay. So you never had the intention to like work for a firm for long?
No.
You just wanted to build your skills?
No, that wasn't the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. But then, this national service thing that was quite interesting. That was during the COVID period, no? So I was working for one of the new hospitals that I just bought currently at that time, no? Right. And interestingly enough, our hospital was one of the containment facilities for COVID. So we're fighting the COVID patients.
When we're
managing. I mean, down there was max all the time, 90%.
But people still were maxing, like they were getting.
My team said some of them even stopped like the max. I think most people were not really that comfortable with the max right now. So when the opportunity they get, they will remove it. A bit I didn't have that luxury, so I had to always keep my max on.
And you were like, you felt comfortable, like in the midst of people. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there, I think my national service to do. Quite interesting. I built some applications for the hospital too. So
like I was able to part of the deal, like you just came up with.
No. So when I went first, I think my initial lesson, I met the head of the IT management facility. The first time I went and I dropped my national service forms. So I think the first thing he asked was skill sets, what you can do, and I was like, I could. So he was like, okay, then can I build this website for the hospital? I was like, yeah.
Website?
Yeah. So I think that was outside of the general activities that we're doing as IT officers. That was one of the things that I was doing. So that was the first thing I actually did. So we built the website. That's when I learned that the freelance, I think that was the first lesson. Because I think usually with the freelance stuff, I had my friend who was doing most of the client-facing stuff.
Okay.
Right? So he was communicating with clients, getting resources and all those things from clients. So I wasn't really privy into the hassles of that one. But then I was working with the officers and I was internal team. And then sometimes you need information, right? So I would need to know this department, their activities, what they do, what the department offers, all those things. So you have to get them from the department heads usually. But then that one was tricky because they're very, very, very busy people.
I see.
So there was a whole lot of things that I had to learn the hard way that sometimes you have to find an alternate path to get what you need to get to finish the stuff that you need to do. Yeah.
But getting a gig as a freelancer, was it difficult? Because for me, that thing is difficult.
So I think the freelance thing, the first thing that you always have, I think with freelance, the first thing that you have to know is that your first projects are going to be crap. Right? It's going to be crap, and then the first projects too are going to have to come or will largely come from family and friends, right? So like connections, family and friends. So usually I think the best approach to the freelance thing is when you want to start doing this freelance work, then you'd probably need to make sure that you've announced it to your immediate family and friends, that you are open for. Yeah, and then you also have to make your mind that's at that period of time, you are barely going to be making any money, right? So you're focused.
What do you mean by you are barely going to make any money?
Yeah, you're barely going to make any money because you have to listen. You have to underprice or undervalue the solution you're going to build for them, right? So you'll be doing a lot more work. You barely make any money to cover anything. But then the focus there should be that building the portfolio to be able to leverage that to get more more higher paying or better paying gigs.
Okay. Now we want to move to it's also another part of your journey, but let's talk about challenges from the time your dad bought you the desktop to now. Have you ever faced any challenge?
I mean, the challenges it comes. All
challenge that challenges every day you face them, but the challenges that at a point you feel like this tech thing is not for me, or even it's for me, why it's working for me as my friends, or maybe some expectations that you're not able to meet them, and you feel like this thing there.
Oh no! I don't think being disillusioned with the tech field has been part of my experience in any way. But I've always known that even if I didn't do this professionally, I would still be doing it in some capacity, right? And that there were alternate paths that I could still go on. So it wasn't like
what do you mean by there were alternative paths?
Well, alternate paths. I could have gone back to my hometown and I'll be farming. And I would join my dad and I'll be farming.
Be serious?
I'm serious.
Yeah, okay.
The alternate path. I could have done that. I could have gone back to school. I could have gone into teaching. I could have done different things, right? I could have tutored. I could have gone back to school.
So can I say that you the coding is not something you'd want to it's not 100% part of you. That so from what you just said, it means that if you're not making money from coding self, which is the number one thing, you can't be coding and say you're not getting money. You can't be coding for fun. But there are people who actually, even if they have their job, they just want to write code to solve some particular problem. It doesn't look like that's the case for you.
Also, I'm not. I think I followed the question.
So, if the money is not coming, you have nothing to do with code. You're not ready to solve problem with code.
I'll code answer that.
Okay. So, but then it's not your number one means of making money. You are not seeing coding to be what is going to give you money, because based on what you just said, if after all, if I'm not getting money from coding, I'll go and farm and then just probably code to solve a problem.
Oh, okay. I think you may have misunderstood me. What I was saying is that
if I misunderstood you, then my audience also did. So please.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that I've never been disillusioned with coding. The fact that I've never got up at one point and I was like, this thing's not working out. I'm going to quit. I won't do it again. Blah blah blah. Right. Mm-hmm. I will always be hyped about learning new languages, new solutions, and new stuff in coding. Right. I'll always be hyped. Obviously, there's points in times where you get up and you don't want to code.
Yeah.
But those ones are just part of the journey, right? Yeah. It's not any hard stuff, right?
So how do you do with that kind of day?
Those days you just have to. I think the difference there is it depends. It's person to person, right?
Yes. So you.
So me in general, all that I have to do is that I have to wake up. Sometimes it will take a while. I'll dilly-dally. But then whenever I manage to get myself up and I sit on the computer, sometimes usually I'll tell myself, let me just go and play some games. I'll play some games small. And then the problem that I have to solve will be playing in my back of my mind. We're playing this. When I figure out a starting point for the solution, I'll be like, let me just put it down, right? Or let me test it out or see something. Then I'll open my VS Code, and then I'll start doing something. And then usually, I think the hard part is the starting, right? So if you can get yourself to start doing it, or to start doing something. So usually, if you can tell yourself, okay, let me just open the editor, right? You open your coding editor, you're like, let me look at the code small. Then you see, I have to let me write this. And you see now you're writing the code. So usually those ones you can get over, right? Or sometimes if you set the deadlines for yourself, they are looming. You write something.
Yeah, but you see, with this way of like recovering back to coding, if you are working for someone full time, you can't do this, right? You have to wake up and code.
So you have to pick your moments, right? There's times that you be low, so it's not like you won't code at all. It's just that because you are not in it now, the productivity will be low for those days. So you have to make sure that when you are into it now, and the productivity is high, and you have to also find ways to minimize the low days. We all have the low days, but I just have to find ways to minimize it.
Okay.
To make sure that the effects are not that visible.
Okay. It only works for remote developers. You can't go to someone's office and then say, I don't feel like coding, unless you be hiding the screens of your laptop.
You can do it anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Then you have skills. So.
Oh, no. It's because if you don't want to code, you find some useless thing to go and be doing in there, right? You find something to occupy your time in the office. So people always find a way to do what they have to do. So that one, it's not any stressing like that.
Okay. Yeah. But
when I was saying the alternate paths, what I mean is that if I had to, if I was not making money in code, for any long period of time, right, for a year or so or more, right, and I had to switch because, there's mouths to feed, right, including myself. So you have to make money somehow, right? So then you have to find other things that you'll be doing to make money in that period of time. So at that point, now coding will be on the back burner, but not my primary focus then. It doesn't mean that I'll code in there, I'll code. I'll always code.
But you still go to the farm to farm.
I always code, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now, because I'm writing code most of the time. The farming, this, and I don't go to the farm like that. It's only once in a while, then I'll get up and set myself.
But the farming, is it for your personal consumption or you do it on a larger scale?
No, not me.
It's not tech, but I just wanna.
My dad farms, so me, I'm just
commercial.
Yeah, it's large scale, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Nice one. Let's talk about community. Okay, no, before we go to community, let's talk about your day. How's your day like?
How's my day like?
Yeah.
Oh, my day.
First off, make it clear that you are a remote engineer, right? So that as you are talking about your day, we get to know what
so remote engineer. I don't think the structure of my day has changed much between being at the NSA. When I was working in the office, I had to go there every day, and then working remote, right? Okay. But I think you usually have to find a structure that works for you. So I think maybe that's what I was used to. So I'm generally still following that format to the most part, right? So the day I start now, I wake up, brush teeth, listen, drink the water, stretch small, and come and sit
you
down.
Stretch. Okay.
I think more now than before.
Okay.
Because my back now is killing me. So.
Charlie, that thing is serious. Yeah. Okay. Like that.
So I get up, come and sit down, write all the code out to write. If I need to take breaks, I'll take my breaks. If I don't have to take breaks, I'll just be in there until the end of the day. So at the end of my day too, so when I think usually I'll get off around 6, 7. If I don't have any collaborations I have to do with any other team members, I don't have time. So I'll get up around 6. Then I'll take my supper. I won't touch the code again until like 10 or 11 p.m.
10, 11 p.m. You're about to code.
Yeah, then I'll jump back in to do stuff. Yeah, so between the 6, so 6 to 7 inside, I'll eat. And then if I'm in the mood, then I'll try and do some small exercise. But now and then.
Exercise?
Yeah. I mean, you have to be picking up something. If not, because the remote work, you are always in the one location. So if you don't burn the fat somehow, go bloat.
That playing game burns fat.
You don't know they burn fat. You know, like the coding, they are the same location.
So how
crazy movements like that. So that I'm saying, so now exercise. So you do some small exercise. So around like 8 to the 10 or maybe 11. No,
that's right.
I'll be playing game. Yeah.
Playing the game.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll do the game for the rest of the night if I don't have any pressing stuff that needs quiet listen to be pushed or completed that day.
So what does game do to your body like?
It's
I sometimes feel like
refresh.
Trying to be a gamer as well, but I'm trying to like. It's not me. That's not me.
Well, I can't say it because me and I was always been there like that. We've always been gamers, so we've always been gaming. So that's always a part of the life.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just a way to keep in touch with the friends. So sometimes we jump on in the night, then we'll play games for a bit. Yeah. Maybe the only thing I miss be I read a lot too.
You read a lot?
I read a lot.
Okay. Yeah. What books have you read?
I've read a lot. I've read everything. I think.
What do you mean by read?
I'm trying to say that the genre doesn't matter, right? I switch fiction and fiction, story, live programming, everything. I read everything.
So, within a year, how many books do you read?
I think it depends on how many I've been interested in reading, right? Or any book I've picked up that I'm like, okay, this seems like a cool book and I'm reading.
So let me put you on the spot. Tech books. Which of the tech books have you read?
Well, I've read a lot. I've read I think the one I started reading before I got into program I've forgotten the title of the book. It had to do with the interview process for hiring a tech, right? Like the questions, how to prepare, stuff like that, all those things. Then the database analytics. There was one that I was reading that had to do with compilers and all those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, and one more question before we get to community. What tech stacks do you have as a skill?
Now and then, in general, I would say that if you are learning this, outside of HTML and CSS, right? Any other language that you pick up, I think usually people recommend that you start with Python, right?
Okay.
Maybe JavaScript, because I think the bar for entry there is low enough. But I think the bar for entry on JavaScript is a bit higher. But I think there's a lot of people that write JavaScript that don't really understand JavaScript, right? But they can write JavaScript good enough, but they don't really get the JavaScript like that. So I think maybe as a starting point, probably Python, or if you want to do Python or something that's a lot more, what they call them? The C++, Java, this thing family, right? Yeah. Object-oriented, OPP guys. So one of those as a startup is really nice. Maybe my favorite language will always and forever be C++. So if you ask me what to start, I always tell you C++.
C++.
Yeah,
so you advise that you advise that we start with the hardcore guys, that family, pick any of them, understand. Then it would make sense for you to really understand what goes behind JavaScript, Python, those guys.
So I think largely if you understand the concepts behind the languages, right? Because for every language that you're going to do, the basics are always going to be the same, right? You have to know about your variables, you have to know your loops, you have to know your conditional statements, right? And then your classes, right? And then mostly in large now, that's the extent of it, right? So you have to know how those things work within the context of whatever language you are writing, right? So you find that in certain languages, for example, I learned recently that in JavaScript, there's two ways that you can when it comes to variables, there's two types of way that you can interact with variables, right? So we can have what they call it, by reference, and then by copying of the object of the value, right? So if I say A is equal to 4, right, and I say B is equal to A, and I switch A's value to 6, B will still be 4. So that means that B there has duplicated the value. Right.
But that's not referencing. You do the referencing before the changing.
So if I do A is equal to 4, B is equal to A, then this. So B will still be 4 when even if I change A. But the interesting thing is that when it comes to objects in JavaScript, they don't work the same way. Objects work by reference. Right. So what that means is that when I say A is equal to an object, right, and then I say B is equal to A, right, and I change A and I log B, B will be the results of the A, of the new A, right? Because the reference, that means that there's one location where the data is, and then A and B are both fetching from that same location. So when I use A to change it, and B is going to fetch the new values. Essentially. So that was something, a new concept that I learned that happens in JavaScript, so that they do those two things like that. And the annoying part is that it's under the box. So unless you have an issue that's related to it, you are very unlikely to notice that it is something that happens, right? But then if you do the old languages, right, so like the C++ or the C's, right, because they are more close to machine language than the rest, right? Like assembly and stuff like that. There's more visibility there on what is working under the hood, because you kind of have to manage what other languages are abstracting for you. Right?
Okay, but so are you saying that if you don't go back to study those object-oriented programming languages, you still can't like figure out all those?
No. So you get there. But usually you have to get the problem to now understand it, right? Or the material that you are using will have to be in depth enough there to explain for you. But even though C++ is my favorite language, and I always recommend that people start there. I think now I usually ask, what do you want to do, right? So it depends on what you are trying to build, right? Then there will be different languages that will be better for you to start, because it will make it easier for you to transition into what you're going to do than if you start with a language that you're not going to do.
So do you think Go, Rust are in the same class of JavaScript, Java, C++?
So I haven't really done the Go and the Rust like that. But I think for the use cases that I'm seeing, I would say they are in the same class, right? Because the use cases are very, very different.
Okay.
What they are using them for are very different, right? I think maybe Go, Rust probably, I think it's more in line with what they use C++ for generally, right? But then it's still young enough that there's not enough support or tooling for you to compete in that aspect. So largely, if you want to do anything outside of where they have explicit support in Rust for, then you probably just want to use your C++. There's still a lot more.
So it's about the ecosystem for those let's say Rust and Go, but when it comes to like the capability of that language, it's more of like C++, Java.
I think so those ones, the new languages are in a sense improvements, because they are born out of people using the old ones like crazily enough that they know the shortfalls and then the shortcomings of those languages, right? So the new ones are patching those issues. So you don't face some of those issues as intensely as you face with the old ones.
Okay. So you just delete the mind that you have C++ as a skill, okay, and then you just want to learn these programming language, the object-oriented ones. You have Go, Rust, Java, C++ in front of you. Which one do you want to go for?
C++. No,
don't die. Why? Just saying C++.
No, C++. Because we did Java in school too, but I don't like Java. I'm not a big fan of Java.
And you don't think Rust has like improved so many things in Java and C++ for you to go for Rust?
I think it does. That's what I'm saying, Right? Depends on what you're going to do. So if I'm trying to get work, I'll probably still go for those ones, the old guys, because I don't think there's enough hiring out there for those guys. Yeah.
But aside support and going out for a job for that particular language, aside that,
like, if there's interest there, you can do anything you want. You can learn anything you want to learn.
Okay, cool. That's a lot. Let's talk about community.
Okay, I've done your questions. The tech stack. Yeah.
Okay, let's use. You have 2 minutes to talk about that.
Yeah. So let me see that one. The languages, Java. I don't use it. I learned it. I had to. Yeah, Visual Basic. Don't use it, but I had to learn it.
Okay. Is it school?
Yeah, in school.
Okay.
Listen. JavaScript, C++, Python, PHP, that's
for mobiles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do a lot of Flutter. I use Flutter to do my project work in school. So that's really more. I think largely that's around those I revolve around. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm small Rust, but now I'm
still
learning.
What did you do with Rust?
I'm still learning. I wanted to learn some some what they call it, some pattern. So I wanted to learn that pattern. I've forgotten the name. It's pattern that's commonly used inside video games. It's a derivative of OPP.
Okay.
Right. So it's like you have the classes, you name them distance, then you inherit them. So something like that. But then it's mainly used in what they call it, video game stuff.
Okay.
So I wanted to learn that pattern, and then I wanted to learn Rust. So I saw that there were some guys that were doing they made a game engine in Rust. So I was like, let me just use that opportunity to make a simple game, and then learn those two things together.
Okay. Let's talk about community. Do you belong to any community, or has any community like helped you in your journey? And your community is not necessarily maybe having some group of people that you guys meet up once in a while, not that, but that could be a form of community. But like it could be you and a group of people who like you always talk about some certain things in tech, and then probably go for like some challenges and all that.
Let me see. So largely outside of my I think friends, and then the guys I work with at Edison at my current employment. There's also one WhatsApp group there. I think some Facebook groups. I think the Facebook groups are largely Python, Edison, Flutter related.
Okay.
Right. Outside of those spaces, not really. I think the most impact would probably be the interactions that we have with my friends, right? That's usually, I think, in the beginning when we came out of school, then the job hunts and everything, so the squad was sharing their experiences, right? So the experience that he had there was this one friend, he went to a lot of interviews. Sometimes when he finishes, you call him like, yo, you just finished the interview. I'm pretty sure I failed. Then he'll be like, do you know the answer to this question? Then you ask some of the questions on the interview that you had, right?
Okay.
So use those opportunities to build up and grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
or sometimes when he learns a new pattern with the tools that he's using, I think he largely over time has done a lot more PHP than me.
Okay.
So sometimes when he's learning something new from his CTO,
you didn't mention that you do PHP.
I mentioned it.
Okay.
when he's learning something new from the PHP, and usually you come like, yo, have you heard about this in PHP? I'm like, nah. Then you'll be explaining, right?
Okay.
So I've used those opportunities to learn and grow. So I think largely that's how it is. I think just the interaction with colleagues at work and then friends. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So I think that'll be it. But then I want you to tell my audience, we have some people who are yet to get into tech, or probably they just got into tech, and they want you to tell them maybe one or two things that could guide them in their journey. What would you say?
That one there, just be there. You have to know that everything. I think almost everything you are starting fresh. The first period. I think recently I was reading this in one book, and then the guy said, I think there's something to do with why most people waste their first 3 years of anything that they are doing, right? That's because you'll be thinking too much. But I think the solution is probably to fail fast and then get up again quickly, right? So when you're jumping into it, when you're fresh into it, then you just need to be doing and not worrying about that you are failing, right? Because the failing is part of the process. If you don't fail, you don't learn. So you just have to keep pushing. Just be pushing. Right, if you are feeling the interviews, you just need to review the interviews. Make sure that the questions you failed on, you learn those questions, and then you jump on and then see if you are getting more interviews. If you're not getting the interviews, then clean up your public facing profiles, right? So maybe if somebody might even be able to get some like on WhatsApp in the groups, so try and get yourself into the tech spaces, the groups, the communities. Clean up your LinkedIn. Right, and then just be active in those spaces, right? So if you're active in those spaces, and then if you have any colleagues, I think largely the tech space, I think maybe this is probably true for most non-public entities, right? So that's like non-government entities, private work and these things. Most people hear about or get employment opportunities through word of mouth, right? Like friends or family, rather than usually them seeing it out there and then applying. Right. So you just have to make sure that you are in some of these communities, because if you're in the communities, it'll be easier for you to access those opportunities. Right. Rather than if you're outside of those spaces.
Okay. So you're advising them to join a community.
Yeah, join the community.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that'll be it. But then do you have like something you want to share with us apart from the questions I've asked?
Okay. I think I'll share this story.
It's like I saw that in your face, like you have something to say.
How about the things that they are plenty?
You can talk about it. Right?
So I'll share about some of the work experiences, right?
Okay.
So I think the first one I'll start with is when I was final year project, right? Final year projects were boarded with Flutter, right? And there was one of the points where I think you just have to learn that you have to know that it's the solution you had in mind, or whatever you plan for. If it seems like, or if there's challenges that make you feel like you're not going to work out, right? You just have to pause there, rethink it, and then cast the solution if you have to cast the solution and start it fresh.
It's very difficult. Why?
Yeah, because at that point you'll be working on it. The thing it's now sort of personal.
Yeah.
So if it's personal like that, it's hard to dissociate from the code itself. So I think so the projects work in school, working on this thing, COVID time. Hey Jesus. So the house, and I think also ask for help whenever you are stuck on the project or anything, because the experience has been that sometimes you cry for like a day or two, a week or two, you don't be finding a solution, but then whenever you ask for help, somebody will just come inside, and because it's fresh pair of eyes and a different perspective, they'll be like, oh, the issue is coming from here, right? And then to be easily fixed. So the project work, I was fetching data from the database, and then I saw that I was getting error. So I rewrote that component like 3 or 4 times, and I was still getting the same issues. Then one day, I wasn't even able to sleep because I was sleeping, and then you wake up like, shit, let me try this. Then one day, I think like after a few weeks, I was there now, I was looking at this thing, I was looking at this thing. I was like, wait. I saw that when I console log the ID for I was using the NoSQL for the database. So when I console log the ID of the document now, so that wait, the space
before the ID or
at the end
of the ID.
So like I had console logged it before, but I never noticed. Because when I load this time, when I console log both values, right? So I console log the first time I was fetching it, and then the second time I was getting it from a different location. I console log both. So I was trying to copy. I don't know why I was trying to highlight. I don't know why I was trying to highlight it. So when I clicked, I saw that the first one selected only the numbers. And the second one selected the numbers plus space. I was like, God damn it. I added trim, and the thing started working.
Those are like some minor, like
it's those ones that will get you. Those are the kind of
and those ones are hard to get to. Like,
that's why it's good to have the different perspective. So if you can always get somebody else to look at your code, get them to look at your code. If you can get your somebody to review the code, get them to review the code. Because
you look at your like code line by line, the logic, like everything works. So why like then some minor thing like me, comma and the rest having like getting me, getting me. Yeah. Okay.
So I think also that the other probably somewhat interesting stuff I did was, I think that was when I learned about the DevOps and setting up service and stuff like that, right? Was with the at the hospital, my national service. So outside of the, what they call it, the website, we did some apps for them too. I think the first one was supposed to be some simple app that they used to manage their COVID users.
Okay.
So down there we built it, so almost done. Then they brought the new health management system they are using. That thing had the components in there to allow management for those things. So that one didn't go anywhere. Then we did another one for teleconsultation stuff. That was interesting. That was even actually deployed.
Okay. All right. So that's a lot. You shared a lot with that, and I hope my audience will also pick one or two things from the many things he said. And yeah, we are grateful and thanks for coming. I hope I would get you again if we need you.
Anytime.